Yes, we are live. So, starting our webinar. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Olena Grinyuk, and I'm Regional Manager for the Central Eastern Europe at the SME Banking Club, and I will be your host today. And today we will discuss the topic of automation in banking in finance sectors. And I'm glad to be joined today by Daniel Husar from FCOM and Piotr Romaniuk from StartCraft Technology. So, hello, Daniel and Piotr, thank you for joining.
Hello. Hi everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Glad to be here.
Hello, good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, hello. So before we go to the topic, let me shortly mention the organizational moments. So our webinar is scheduled for 40 minutes. We are recording this webinar, so right after we finish, you will receive the link to the video and the presentations. And in the end of the webinar, we're going to have time for your questions. So please type your questions into the chat, even during the presentations. And then after we finish, we will be ready to answer yours. So let's go to the topic. So we can really say that automation is becoming a focus and intense interest in the banking and financial sector in general. And many banks either started or are actively planning to deploy the latest technologies to deliver the automation and the high level of productivity, cost saving, and improvement in customer experience. I found some interesting statistics from the McKinsey Global Institute, and actually they concluded that up to 40% of the banking operations can be automated, which of course will allow to allocate people resources to more value-added tasks and projects. And these actually are the examples of what can be like cash transaction, general accounting operations, or revenue management can be automated up to 80%. And such activities or tasks as, for example, business development, so this cannot be automated at all. And these are some examples and areas where banks can automate their daily activities. So the tasks that are let's say a daily routine. For example, in service operations, there are account closures and process of payments and uploading of invoices and payment of these invoices. In IT, this is the migration and aggregation of data, for example. In finance and MES, so this is automation of finance process, etc. In risk management, this is stress testing, for example, and monitoring of credit risk and counterparties risks. And in HR, which is also very important, manage employees' data and some other tasks. I would like actually to add here that HR here is becoming an important part as well, because when a company is starting to automate some processes, so all employees should be aware of this and understand the value, and actually should understand how they should work in this new way, in this new environment, let's say. And this is like the part and the role of HR in the organization to provide this. So what we see here in the Central Eastern Europe, so when we were analyzing the digital strategies of the bank, which they published at the beginning of this year for the next 2 years, so I have few examples from Polish banks here. One of these, which you see now, is from Alior Bank, one of the leading banks in Poland. So what they have at the moment, so they have already 100 robotic processes implemented in the bank. So they have a centralized team, which is called Robot Factory, that is actually engaged in these processes on an everyday basis. And they implement partial automation of the processes and full robotic automation for the processes that do not need their human intervention at all. And their plans and strategy are that they plan to integrate the robotization with the artificial intelligence, and also they're building 2 robotization platforms, plan to implement OCR technology. And also what is interesting here is that they want to build their service. So if they build, or when they build this or finalize these 2 robotization platform, they want to provide this as a service for other financial companies, so to use to call for robots from the available catalog and make it available as a service to other organizations. The other big bank in Poland, which is actually the biggest one, PKO Bank Polski, also has in its strategy the process of automation, especially in back office operations. And they plan to automate for the next 2 years all the operations where no human touch or human involvement is required. So let's say for the standard ones. And also they want to implement it as well together with artificial intelligence and the usage of bots and also voice technology, voice recognition. And here is a good example if we focus on SME banking a bit. So this was a very good example. So at the beginning of 2018, BNP Paribas in Poland implemented actually one of the first banks here in the region. They implemented a robot that was aimed to automate loan disbursements and booking of the microloans of the customers, of the bank customers. So it took them almost 2 months to build such a robot. So during the next 2 months, they increased the number of such robots up to 20 in the bank. And actually for the next 6 months, so they counted 10,000 automated disbursements of loan for micro customers and 1,100 guarantees. So this was how it was used. And they also reported that it was 300 higher speed of operations, and that this is equals the work of 40 employees of the bank. So these are the examples that we see now in the region here, and I'm ready to pass the word to you, Daniel and Piotr, to share your knowledge and experience in this area. And Piotr, would you start?
Of course. Thank you, Elena, for the introduction. Good day, hello everyone. My name is Piotr Romanik. I'm running the financial services practice with a StarCraft technology and consulting company. We are based in Frankfurt. We are strongly committed to deliver quality services from strategy and management consulting to our customers within not only banking area, but since we are already based in Germany and especially in Frankfurt, this is of course a huge part of our portfolio. We can support our customers with the digital quality and automation services, as well as the, of course, advisory. In this case, as we are going to speak today about RPA. Our services are mostly revolving around the IT business. So it's business consulting, digital quality assurance, and automation engineering, as well as development with Java and Python, or strict IT project management, legacy, and also agile. But we're not here to talk about our company. We're here to talk about the RPA. I would like to give a short introduction. It's going to be a high-level introduction about the RPA, just for everyone to be on the same page. Daniel, a friend of mine, will later on continue with more focused view on his area of business, which is the factoring, and afterwards we will have, like Olena just said, several minutes for the discussion, maybe brainstorming. So just like Olena said, the investment in the RPA, in the automatics and process automation is getting more and more and bigger and more significant than ever before. Especially right now, if everyone is impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So we can observe, and we can actually feel on our own skin how difficult it might be, or how difficult it sometimes is to organize the work and to work on a daily basis without automation, without the support of automated processes. But let's take a short step back, and let's reflect about the automation in general, because the idea of the robots taking over mundane, boring, repetitive jobs and tasks has been forever with us. It's been already in the Greek mythology, and also it can be found in in the Iliad by Homer, which is can be traced back to the 8th century before Christ, where in the story the Hephaestus, the god of blacksmiths from Greek mythology, also created several so-called automatons, which were basically a steel giant conducting very specific works. And here on the picture you can see it's a screenshot from an older movie, I think from the 60s. In the picture you can see a steel giant. It's Talos, who was created by Hephaestus and given to the queen of island of Crete to defend the island before pirates and whoever might want to do harm. And let's jump now to the current days, not to the mythology but to the facts. And I'm not going to talk about the Industrial Revolution. We all know that it had an immense influence on how we work and how the industry is today. But it doesn't mean that everything stopped when we achieved some level of expertise and some level of quality. There is this concept called lights out manufacturing, which has been discussed and pursued by many, and discussed by many, and not many actually made it. Even Elon Musk, he had this big idea of having a lights out manufacturing for his line of Tesla Model 3. And in the 2018, he said that he absolutely underrated the human force, and right now his ideas is set on pause. Nevertheless, the Philips company, who I believe everyone knows it, or at least many of you will have at least one device from Philips in your home. They have created exactly this. They have achieved actually exactly the thing that everyone is in manufacturing is thinking about. In Drachten, in the Netherlands, the manufacturing of a high-end electric razor blades is the razor blades with the 3 heads. It's absolutely automated, without any lights, without any heating, basically without supervision from human beings. So there are over 120 robots, and only 9 people, human workers, in the quality assurance, making sure that the machines are working as expected, and that there is no stop in the production. The biggest, or maybe the most known case of a lights out manufacturing is the company from Japan, the Fanuc, which already is operating successfully a lights out factory since 19 years. And currently, or maybe at the beginning, it started only with the robots replicating themselves. As it is maybe for some purposes of their customers. Currently, Fanuc is able to conduct lights out manufacturing end-to-end for many purposes, and it's actually not a big problem to change the purpose. So we might see Fanuc manufacturing automobiles assembly. I believe here on the picture there are cars for Honda being assembled. The robots can paint the aluminium and the steel parts, or also manufacturing, sorting, and packaging, whatever there is that is very fine, very small pieces that has to be sorted and categorized in some manner. This is exactly the perfect environment and the perfect task for a robot. And when we think about the software, the RPA, the robotic process automation, it's actually the idea is not that different as it is for the normal manufacturing, right? We have a line, we are producing something. Maybe it's a software, maybe it's a loan application, maybe it's a KYC set of documents that has to be processed one by one in several stages. So what is actually, if we can put a definition to it, what is an RPA? To be very frank and very direct about it, it's nothing else than a very specialized software or software robot that is programmed to do some specialized tasks. It might be, of course, implemented together with the OCR solution as mentioned by Olena, which means we would be able to have a proper invoice or any other kind of bank guarantee. We would need only to scan it, and the rest would be done by the robot actually conducting the RPA until might be even to the end. It only depends on the set of the policies of the bank or the financial institute itself. How far can we go with the automation? You need to understand that RPA bot can basically do exactly the same as every single human worker, every single office clerk is normally doing. That means that the RPA bot can be ordered, can be programmed to receive the orders by mail, or even to check a distinctive set mailbox, and just wait for further information. Which means you, as an operator of the bot or the owner of the business process, you could basically be in a restaurant and just checking your emails and just answering, yes, please, RPA, go, carry on, process that invoice for me. The RPA bots are also allowed, they're able to log in into all kinds of locally installed application as well as their web applications. They can read and write data banks and APIs. They can call APIs. They can call other application, other systems. They can move, delete, copy files, folders that are stored locally or shared in a SharePoint, FTP, SFTP, or whatever it is. Basically, just like said, it can the robot can see and do exactly the same as human person normally does on a daily basis. They can extract, process data from files, tables, Excel, Word, PDFs, and so on, so on, so on. But it's not only reading and giving it further. You can also instruct the RPA bot to basically to do something more complex. So it could, for instance, get the information from your invoice, calculate, check if the taxation is similar or not. Is it fine? Is it right? If the invoice can be processed further. Actually, if we think about it, the RPA process automation, the robotic process automation, it's not so far different from very classic or known since years right now test automation of whatever systems there are. You can automate the tests within one closed system, and it's normally would be done by the test engineers, by automation engineers that would program the robot to do exactly the same job as many years ago or several years ago still has been done by manual testers. This concept is basically taken to a broader spectrum. That means you can have a full process automated end to end, not only within one application, but within several applications. But then what are the gains? Why do we even automate, right? The biggest, of course, and the first profit from it is absolutely to save time. According to the Deloitte study from last year, from December 2019, in 2019, the respondents of the questionnaire claimed that on average, RPA implementation won for them around 20% of the FTE, which means, of course, it's very specific to each of the organization that is implementing RPA or RPA strategy. It's a strategy. It might be more, it might be less, but on average, it's 20% and 0.2 FTE. It can be already a lot, especially if you think about a process, about every person involved, even if a very small step of a process, that they don't have to do this anymore. It's been done. It will be done. It will be done for them. Also, a big win, a big profit from the RPA, from any kind of automation is obviously gaining the consistency of the data and eliminating human error. It's fairly normal to see now and then that we have in our data, in even sometimes in core banking systems, there are typos, and the typos might mean a production production downtime, which might mean that your cardholders are not able to purchase online or purchase at the points of sale. And of course, every single bank and every single credit institute don't want to allow it, right? We will gain efficiency not only by the time saving and the processing, but also by processing itself. Later on, at the end of my part, I will speak shortly about one case that has been done for Banco Popular in Puerto Rico, and what kind of efficiency gain they achieved. By time saving with RPA, we can focus more on value adding tasks, or our employees are in our area might just basically don't do the boring stuff anymore, or do it limitedly, just from time to time checking if the RPA is still working, if it's working fine. And the last but not least in my list, to support regulatory. It is actually one of the most time-consuming tasks to adjust yourself, to adjust your organization to the regulatory change. So if we think right now, even what is happening because of the Corona crisis, a few days ago, 2 weeks ago maybe, the German government said that from the 1st of July until the end of the year, there's going to be a decrease in the taxation, in the value-added tax, in the VAT tax. So we're going to go, it depends of course on the category, from 19 to 16%, and also from 9 to 6%. Which will mean also that every single invoice that is going to be set has to be checked if it's still correct. If the merchants, if our partners are not calculating too much for the tax, and this kind of stuff, this kind of checks could be automated very easily. And basically, with an RPA solution, it's only a matter of switching one small parameter to check, instead of 19, check 16, and of course notify if the change has not been done, or is not correct, or maybe the value is not correct, right? The solution, as I said, is basically a software. It's a program that is ordered to do very specialized set tasks. And of course, since we're talking about the financial industry, the banking industry, also right now in the light of the GDPR, it's extremely important to know what can we do, where our data is, where is it stored, or where is it hosted. And of course, there are many solutions that are focused on RPA. Many of them, if not, I think even all of them, are allowing free initial ideas of the hosting or installation. So you might have your solution in the public cloud if your area of your banking is maybe not necessarily risk critical, or is not necessarily very regulated, or maybe it's PCI DSS doesn't really comply to you because you have already tokenization in place, or anything else. The second possibility is, of course, private cloud. You can do this basically agnostic from the solution provider, which means we can say, okay, we're gonna go with the RPA solution from company A, but we're gonna use the cloud storage in Frankfurt, or in Warsaw, or in Slovakia from company B. The third solution, the third possibility, is of course to install your RPA program on premise, which means basically you only need a laptop and some time to set it up, and of course support to automate whatever process you want. The big advantage of the private cloud is, from one side, of course, it's the GDPR compliancy, but it's also the huge scalability. So you could easily go from a locally conducted proof of concept to a full-blown global solution for, let's say, trade business, or trade financing business, or receivable financing. But then, how to start, right? I think this is still the biggest problem in while providing the RPA solution. Maybe it's not only about the providing the RPA solution, but also in a digital transformation itself. So companies, organizations tend to jump in the cold water and just trying to get whatever there is to get from the digital transformation story or agile transformation. But then without even really without reflecting on your own processes, in my opinion, it's impossible to make a scalable, efficient digital transformation change or even a successful setup of an RPA. You need to start with a proper process mapping, with a proper process advisory. You need to know what your employees are doing in one product, for instance, or while processing one type of documents. So if you can go from something that is known by only few people, but on some island in HR and in different kind of area than yours, to at least to have it somehow written down. This is already a huge part done, because then you can just take the information you already have written down, you can make it more detailed, and you can basically finalize the thing you want to achieve with a full business process model, and you could even potentially identify some bottlenecks. So this all has to be done, in my opinion, to support a successful RPA. But also, there is actually more quick wins around it, because if you have already your business processes and your business model set and defined, you can use this also as a blueprint for digital transformation, agile transformation, which will again save some effort and save some costs, obviously, in a later stage, right? Also, another profit, another quick win while setting up our RPA and doing a proper business or the process mapping or process mining, you can make a really informed decision about your systems. That's the huge profit from RPA. You don't have to change anything you have. The older the system actually is, the better it's for the RPA, because one of the biggest big problems of RPA is the robot is set on a process that is already somehow automated, and there's even a small changes in UI might already mean that the robot has to be adjusted, or the script has to be adjusted. If we have a system, a mainframe system, a core management system in banks, it can be easily automated with RPA, which means, again, if you have problems in production with card payments, and your support desk doesn't have easy access to your mainframe, you can automate getting some information with RPA, and it will just mean it's done in seconds or minutes and not in days or hours. So I will basically finish my part of presentation with this small quote by Charles Kettering, an engineer that's been working for a very long time with General Motors. The problem well stated is a problem half solved, and this is absolutely crucial with IT, absolutely crucial with RPA and with digital transformation. Think twice if you need really to install or to migrate your mainframe, to migrate some software you already have. Try to reuse it. Try to enable it with new functionalities done by RPA or supported by RPA. And just at the very end, just a really I'm not gonna take long now. Just a short example, or actually two examples. The Banco Popular I spoke before. I mentioned before, they automated. So Banco Puerto Rico has a huge problem with regulations and also with the immigration and onboarding of new customers because of the migration of their society to United States and other countries. So they did a proof of concept of RPA with IBM and Automation Anywhere They took a fairly complex KYC and AML a process with many steps, as they claim. And in normal case, in best case scenario, the process would take around 10 to 11 minutes end to end. With an RPA, it takes around 10 to 11 seconds. So we have a huge increase in this KPI. And one short example from my own perspective, from my own experience. 2 years ago, we were conducting also implementation of our AI process in one of the biggest banks in Germany, also in Frankfurt within the trade finance business. And part of it was already automated, part of it has to be automated, and we decided to go with our own designed, own implemented by the bank kind of RPA solution. And we didn't start with the process BPM, business process mapping. And it turned out fairly easy just before starting the pilot, that the machines, the scanners, the Xerox machines that are normally present in the offices in Hamburg, Malaysia, and everywhere, they weren't able to scan the documents with a resolution higher than 200 dpi. And that was a huge showstopper, which meant also that the process, the implementation of the pilot took many months longer than was initially expected, only because we didn't pay enough attention to the process and what happens before and after. And thank you for your time, thank you for your attention. Daniel, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Piotr. And maybe my announcement before I will pass over to Daniel. So I engage all the attendees to prepare questions. So we will be able to stay like 10 minutes more to answer the questions. So please think about your questions. And Daniel, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Elena. Thank you, Piotr, for that really good and thorough introduction. For me, it's not a problem, so we can do it a bit longer.
Yeah, for me the same, no problem here at all.
Okay, so super. Okay, so yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me again. My name is Daniel Husar. I'm head of sales at FCOM. What we do is we provide factoring software all over Europe, basically. It's a standard system, very flexible since 20 years, and our, so let's say, a little bit more than half of our client portfolio are really the big banks like Postbank, Raiffeisen, BNP Paribas, like the big guys. But we also work with a lot of mid caps and fintechs in a way. So we are, and so far we are in 11 countries, and we are branching out all over Europe. And what I will talk about is a, let's say, a practical view. Piotr did a lot of examples, touched upon it, and I've been thinking how can we really use it, let's say, for factoring, standard factoring system, because the thing is, we and I mean a lot of systems and system providers, they think of it like they're this drop in the ocean with the, let's say, concentric circles around it there. So we know we are part of a bigger system, and we are already very automated. So I will talk about let's say our system here as well. So this is not specifically RPA, but I will get to that. Let's say, because this is a challenge actually, because of course I mean our system and probably several more systems, they are built to be very, very effective and very automated in itself already, especially if they're more modern systems, let's say, in a way. And I took the liberty of taking a few key points from our workflow within factoring, because now we are in the business with this of let's say purchasing receivables and making an outpayment or a prepayment. This is the, let's say, the workflow which start with a purchase and we finish with an outpayment and the reportings to the clients, the advance. And these processes are already very automatic. So what we do is actually there's two philosophies behind every single process step in this, because in factoring, in supply chain finance, you have huge amounts of data. huge amounts of hundreds of thousands of invoices that nobody is able to handle on its own. And I mean, to purchase them manually, to make these risk decisions, it's not possible. And this is why we need a system to do this automatically by, let's say, the business rules that we defined and by the risk appetite we have for our product. And that translates these decisions into a system via parameterization and carries them out automatically. So I have a huge set of rules that I would like to base my purchase decisions on. For example, one of the most important ones is, of course, a limit that I give to a client. This is a nice, a nice possibility to limit my risk as well, to limit my exposure as well. This is going to be carried out automatically. And the matching as well. We have an artificial intelligence engine with this. So if it's not an exact match, maybe it's a partial match, and then the AI can learn and decide what to do with that. When we match invoices to payments, because when these invoices get paid by the debtor, then we want to free up more limit to purchase more invoices and to continue the circle. And so one main philosophy is to automate decisions that are already taken and that are repetitive in this business, to make it possible to handle all that big data. And another one is to and especially within risk, is to have kind of a pre-decision engine that gives us a list, for example, of invoices or some risk events that might be fraudulent, or they don't look, it just doesn't look right based on some parameters. When was the invoice uploaded? Do we see a pattern in invoice values? For example, it should be quite random, but maybe a number pops up too much, and then we have a nice Benford engine running. And this is the second philosophy is basically about giving a risk manager the most important tasks to work on, to make really educated decisions where manual interaction is needed in one way or the other. Yeah, and I can say, I know that client. It's fine. We will make an exception here, but we won't make it again. If we make it again, maybe we should input it so it's taken automatically. And an outpayment, of course, it's all the calculations are made automatically. That's quite standard in a lot of systems, and the reporting as well. So we are in this, remember the drop. We are in this bubble, and but the reality looks more like this. So if this is the IT architecture of a bank or a huge organization, and even smaller organizations, I mean, they have lots of systems, and as Piotr said, lots of legacy systems as well. This can be quite complicated when we have the inputs and outputs of these systems. There can be manual work involved, even within the system. It can be everyone knows these little tasks, copy and paste from one system into the other, copying to an Excel file, and then copying it to an email and sending it out to every client, to one client, and these kind of things. And these gaps and these many tasks, they add up. Even if it takes 1 minute, 5 minutes, it can add up to hours. And especially when these systems are supposed to work together, but they're old, there are no interfaces, or the interfaces don't work as well as they should. And so maybe we can think about what to do with these bots. How can they help us? And actually, I have a spontaneous example now. Because if we think about fraudulent invoices, for example, and we look at the data, we look at parameters. One thing that came to mind actually now with Piotr saying it, we are looking for patterns in the data, but a bot and with an OCR, it could look does this invoice look right physically, the PDF or the fax even, I mean, it's still used, compared to another one? Or are there inconsistencies, for example? So we could kind of broaden this view automatically, just in general. You know, there might be some noise in this data. There might be, might look a little bit different, but if it looks a lot different and we weren't notified, maybe there's something wrong. So, but just that was a spontaneous one. And so if we think about the little drops and all the little connected and non-connected IT systems, one of the major challenges, I think, in these kind of applications is reporting. We are very good at reporting, actually, because we have very detailed data, because we have to, because of, you know, this was built upon German regulations, and well, we love our regulations, of course. So this is quite strict. But what if we export this data and then we would want to combine it in another reporting tool, or we would want to combine it in Excel, for example? And even if we are kind of low tech, and then we have a nice legacy system that we don't even want to open anymore, because, you know, it's nobody knows. Maybe, hopefully, somebody knows how to use it, but then you need to copy certain fields into Excel, and to get maybe to a portfolio report, maybe, you know, to combine a perspective on factoring with a perspective on leasing, or on other products, financial products that you might have. And a bot can actually, if set up correctly, we could copy and paste the correct fields into the fields into the Excel file, for example, and then you can combine it, and then you can. It's sort of like a macro within Excel, but over your whole IT system. And then you can work on the most meaningful tasks, actually, that require a human brain to the interpretation of that data becomes then the task, and not meaningless copying and pasting from one source to the other. And I'm sure, you know, try and think about the gaps in your systems. Try to think about the work that you hate, that are really, you know, that's repetitive, like that, and that your coworkers are complaining about. And so we can all have a more meaningful outlook on work, actually, if we did stuff like this automatically. And so, you know, not to make ourselves obsolete, but to work in a kind of a symbiotic relationship. And this can save a lot of time. And one thing that I thought about also are test cases, you know, to kind of not the daily work, maybe the setup of the system, or if you're getting a new system, for example, if you need a new factoring system, for example, just, you know, write me an email. The thing is, to get it to run, you need quite some testing and migration, but also in continuing to run. The things that we often forget, that we are able to do our job, is because of these surrounding circumstances, that IT administration does a lot of work to do that. And for anybody that had to do that knows how much work it can be to input a complex real life scenario into a factoring system, because it can be a complex business. You know, lots of fields to fill. You have the charges types. You have maybe interest. Maybe you have a complex interest scale. All these things, and it needs to be correct. The parameters, the fields, the values need to be correct to have a meaningful result. And or the testing is invalid, and maybe we mess up. There's room for mistakes, and then we need to enter them again, and then maybe we have a live environment, and then maybe we have a test environment. We need to do it twice. Imagine what we could do with a bot who just runs through the cases, and even if we mess up somewhere, we can reset the case and start all over. Again, it's very powerful, and we are talking not about hours. We're talking, in my opinion, we're talking about days. With a case like this. And now maybe for a quick, and this is, we'll close now for a discussion starter. One thing that I thought about really, and it's not there yet, how I think, could correct me if I'm wrong, is to combine AI and RPA. When we go back and think back about the little tasks that add up, and AI could actually watch someone with machine learning and learn all the little tasks, all the clicks, let's say, and then even think about, how can I save that guy seconds, and see the patterns and the repetitive work that we are not even seeing, that are very hard to map, like Piotr described in this in his presentation, where we think about how to really map this. And this could be maybe look into the future, and a kind of an automated mapping of these things, patterns that we don't even think about of behavior, save a second here, a second there, kind of a even closer symbiotic relationship. But that's open for discussion. It could be quite useful and quite fascinating, in my opinion. So and I will leave you with this image, and that's my part so far.
Thank you, Daniel. My first question while we are waiting for our attendees is, what is your prediction, actually? Yes, are you here?
Yes. Some technical problems. Yes.
Yeah. I'm back also. Yeah.
So what is your prediction? So when all the factoring transactions operations will be automated, at least for SMEs?
Completely. Well, I'm thinking that a lot of it is quite automatic, as I outlined. For SMEs, I think we still have some gaps, because we have very unstructured data that is uploaded, which is OCR, for example. If I make a picture of an invoice, and I have a single invoice business and I upload it, it's quite unstructured. OCR has gotten a lot better, but it's not. It's still difficult. So we'll take some time to close these gaps. And if we talk about really, and if we talk about in the context of RPA, this will take even longer in this area, because we have such heterogeneous data. It's quite harder to automate. And when I said we have this business with the big banks, it's more big company A, with big bank B. So B2B on a huge basis with a lot of structured data. So these things are much easier. So I won't make, maybe Piotr will make a prediction. Right? But I think that first the big players are much easier to automate, and this will be much earlier. And the small players, we need some tricks still up our sleeve to automate them better. Anyway, so
I will just comment why I'm asking about SMEs, not just because I love this segment, of course, but
of course.
But I really believe that if you talk about factoring, let's say, so if, especially for micros, if this service is not automated for them, so then it is almost impossible to sell this product to them, because this should be really quick and fast, and because they don't know much about the factoring. I mean, even what the word means. So as long as it is automated and it doesn't take too much resources from the bank side or from the factoring company side, and it's easy to use for micros, which now are not covered by this product mainly. And so that's why I think that this is especially for this segment, this is crucial in terms of a front end, meaning the acquisition, and so the product, and the back end, of course, as well.
And I think that especially in the SME segment, the new companies with new products, they are fairly automated. So the especially the new developments, they're really done as they're supposed to be done, with agile processes, minimum viable products and stuff, delivering continuously and improving product continuously. So what they should really think about is the input and the output of their own product. Because even if within one scope, within factoring tool, everything is perfect and cannot be done better, I'm sure there is something that can be do before and after the process, after the system, right? It might be the reporting, it might be just like David, like Daniel, you said, the OCR automation and then reading of the invoice data. There are also already tools that will allow you to do this. So you can part of some of the RPA solutions. There is already implemented business process mining tool, which means you could basically just give access to the systems, to your mailbox, to the mailbox where the OCRs normally land. The tool will just read the timestamps and create you a process map from which to which, at what time to what time, with what kind of efficiency the process is running, and then you can think about it. You can do something. You can have some countermeasure to basically to help your product.
And this is exactly what I mean. Like within the factoring application, it doesn't matter if it's an SME or a big corporate, or it hardly matters. Let's say because what we do is, I mean, we are experts in this, and we automate everything that can be automated. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. If we're talking about micro, for example, sometimes we have really bad quality data. A bad picture of the invoice or something like that. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This will take time, and maybe we need the help of AI, because I mean, OCR used to be 50% accuracy, now 70 with the help of some simple AI, maybe 80, 90. But still, if you need to scale this big, I mean, 10% can be a lot that you have to kind of look up, because the tickets are so small. If I get an invoice if we stay in factoring with the example of 100,000 euro or that's great. I don't need to, it's not a lot of invoices. I don't need to automate a lot. I probably trust this company a lot. Yeah. But with if we are really going to micro, and I don't have any data of that person, for example, and it's 500 euros, and I do that a million times, it's also a million times harder in a way. And everybody, this picture is too dark. This is too bright. This is so we need really help. I think of RPA, of AI, and of OCR, for example, to really solve this problem. Because otherwise it's not worth it. Otherwise, I have this manual intervention that I don't want, in a way. But there is huge margins to be made on this, of course.
Yeah. And I think that the same current principles of the big banks, or that are applying to the big banks, are also applying to the SMEs, who of course want to have a piece of cake, right, of the business. Just like you said, the micros. The risk assessment is a micro customer that is also a new customer. It's fairly hard. And nowadays, with the big competition from everywhere, from big banks and also from the fintechs, the customer, the end customer, the micro customer, can basically just choose whatever he wants, right? And this is what also the big banks are currently very occupied with, is removing the friction. So if you have a perfect factoring solution that is frictionless within in the back office for your bank, but it's not frictionless for the micro or for the customer, he will look around. He will look around, and he might go somewhere else, just because there is one additional field in the UI, or one additional step, or two additional checkboxes and clicks. It sounds very, very, very petty, very small, and not very, very serious. But if I think about my behavior as a customer,
One second can make all the difference in the world.
Yes.
Like, no, I don't want this.
Couple of years ago, I would think like, oh, okay. I mean, I can wait 2 seconds. It's not a problem. But right now, I know there are 10 companies in line who will give me exactly the same, but faster. So where is the profit for me? Why should I stay with this provider, right?
Yes. They can't wait. Actually, yes, this the thing. But what is also interesting is that, as you mentioned, so the tools and the solutions are on the market, so you can really automate. But what is interesting, there is still the room in the market, because not so many, at least what we see here in the Central Europe. So not so many companies and not so many banks are really automated this, especially for my. Of course, for SMEs, maybe. For some bigger tickets, it makes sense maybe to manually process this in banks. Well, that's why probably this factoring product was mainly targeted for corporates in the banks because of the semi-manual, so manual processes. But for micros, it makes sense. It does not pay off at all. But and still, like we have really here, if you look at the Central Europe, like really 1-2 fintechs having full digital process for factoring or invoice finance to micros, and to banks.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the process are either purely manual or they are half manual. So at least other application exists, for example, or like the decision making is made with the scoring, or some parts are automated. But for customers, for example, this is still you should contact physically, go to the branch, or this, and this is becoming difficult for micros, because if it's not in your mobile, and if you cannot make a photo and upload the invoice, and it will not be financed in 5 minutes, well, this is a bit complicated. So that's why, and then like everybody will gain, because the customers, this is not the acquisition of these customers from other factoring companies or banks. They don't do this, and this is like a really fresh customers that are not the customers of any other financial institution. So that's the piece of cake.
Yeah.
Okay, so while our attendees are quiet, so my then finalizing question will be: how do you think, and maybe what are your recommendations actually here? What should be the roadmap for the banks and any financial organization to start this play this game with the robotic automation? What would you suggest?
Perfect. Can I say something completely unintuitive here? What we are doing now, because with automation, we feel that we did our homework in the constraints that we have right now, and we are exploring to do quite some things with RPA. I think one of the first things, fix the user experience. And we know, and everybody thinks they've done that, but no one has done it, or hardly anyone has really done it. Like really, I'm an impatient type as well. like Piotrek, if it takes 1 second too long, I don't care. I don't care anymore. And to kind of to fix this conceptually, to work from mobile device first, and let's say, and then. And the second part, at the same time, conceptually, we need, when we have a really great UI and the user experience is great, we need a way to kind of balance this in the back end. Everything that is hitting us, it cannot be manual. And then we have the problem of this. We need to approve it in 24 hours, but we cannot make an educated risk decision with that. So I would say work on these two problems in a way. We can help with parts of that, and otherwise the technology it's still, I mean, with very unstructured data, we need to work together and evolve this technology. This is my very unintuitive.
I will answer a little bit similar, a little bit not similar. Because I would like to get to something that you said actually in your presentation, in your slides, that some people or some areas or systems are like islands, and I think this is a huge onboarding problem for not only for RPA but for many systems or many automations or many transformations of the processes. Like, people are used to work in silos and provide or find a solution for a problem in the silo. They don't really look above their own environment, and I think this is the problem. This is something that has to be organized differently. And if anyone is really thinking about automation, any kind of automation, seriously, they need to think about what's happening more around them and not only within their own process. because
Absolutely.
just like I said, you can be perfect, you can have zero friction within your area, but if there is a friction beforehand, one step before, there is a big chance that the customer won't ever reach you because of the friction before. So cooperation above the silos and actually breaking the silos, that would be really my big recommendation. The technology is there. The technology is changing every single day, and there are new solutions emerging. So I wouldn't really be very fixed on this idea. I need to have this. I need to do this right now. But rather, okay, what can I do to not do again exactly the same mistakes that has been done before? How can I use the stuff that I already have, or maybe minimize the investment by changing something around me?
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. It's more about concepts than technology itself.
Yes, it is.
Which is great. We're still relevant. That's great.
Yes,
No,
the creative side of a human being, right? That
Yeah,
is that won't be
I love that.
ever exchanged by a machine, probably. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And actually here, I think the important thing is to partner with the IT, the department, or to have some IT people involved into the project. And what also I observe here in the banks that started implementations, for example, of robotic automation in Poland. So they all have centralized team for this, which actually on everyday basis they contact with vendors, they contact with shareholders, they contact with IT to make this happen. And also, actually, the next is that to start maybe to choose the first area for the pilot. So, and usually banks like starting from some back office processes that are not connected with the customer process. So, to do the trial at the back office, test it, get some result, get the lessons learned, and then go already for the customer related processes. Okay, so we have one question from Vincent. So how does the business side of the bank feel about RPA? And what are their expectations to leverage RPA to increase market share on the short term? Who would like to answer?
Complex question. I think that the business side is more open to the automation than the IT is. This is something that you, Elena, actually mentioned. I read a report a couple of days ago. I'm not sure. I think it was also it was either Deloitte or Forrester, where one of the biggest problems with RPA implementation is actually the IT department, because they might have their own ideas about it. They might have their own systems that are favorized. There might have some suppliers that are favorized and stuff. And this is something that the organization has to really think about. What does make more sense? Implement a totally new solution without any ties to any of the departments inside to the IT, and maybe pay a little bit more for it, or pay with money and not with time of your employees? Or does it make more sense to take the employees that are working on something else, slower some other projects and ideas in order to get some half-baked RPA solution? This is something that they need to think, that the organization has to think about. And also the business side, I think they are very much scared of the cost, of the potential cost, because automation, digital, whatever is new, it just sounds expensive. It doesn't necessarily is expensive, but it sounds expensive. So you will have a lot of open source solutions that are free to use. Of course, you need to do your own risk assessment. What about the support, product support, and so on, and basically calculate what is the gain, what is the loss, does it make sense? But I think that the biggest problem with the business side of RPA is the cost that is not as expensive, that's not as high as people, as the business side and banks feel about it. And of course, if you leverage RPA, if you remove some friction, yeah, this is then the direct translation to the market share, I think.
Yeah. And maybe some small comment. Completely agree. And what I mean, what I sometimes, not all the time, it's like this, that you cannot ignore the human factor. You know, the people that are working there that I'm presenting, you know, this my very automated system to. For example, even, you know, if we don't talk about RPA, we talk about all the you know, batch processes and things that are done automatically within the system. I think, you know, am I going to lose my job now? Yeah, which of course, I mean, it's quite natural. And I always stress, even before they can ask the question, I have lots of business cases where we did this. They kept everyone. They just kept making more revenue, and they had a more personal. I mean, the solution to that, you have a more personal relationship with your clients, because now finally you have time to call them and to really understand them, and well, the best manual task probably is to build this relationship, and we actually had cases where, you know, we could double the revenue with the same amount of people. And I think everybody was, you know, and the relationship was better with the client as well, because of you don't have to do these you know, the things that nobody really likes to do, these mundane things. And but you have to tell them that, because and that's not your, you know, I don't want, nobody wants this.
Well, this is actually what I mentioned a bit at the beginning, that this is actually the essential role of HR as well. So first of all, you know, you should sell this idea of automation inside the company so that the employees will understand the value and will also understand their new role in this new ways of working. And only after that you will be successful with the automation, I think, because I think people in general would like to, you know, to do some more value-added tasks and projects, and not to be robots.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Let's not become robots.
Sure. So, thanks a lot for this discussion and for your presentation and contribution. Thank you very much, Daniel and Piotr. And all our attendees, thank you for staying with us till the very end. Yeah, so thank you.
Slightly over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.